Hello and welcome everyone to the Amateur Commentator. This is Somit here and I have with me Anshul, and today we'll be discussing the RCB versus Kolkata Knight Rider match from the IPL. Hi Anshul.
I saw.
Yeah, so it was a quite a close match at the end of the day, but it didn't look like that for most part of it. Kolkata did not pose such a great threat, I think, and Bangalore really played pretty badly to make it much more interesting. So, yeah, why don't you take us through the overview of the game and then we'll talk more about it in depth?
Yeah, I think right from the toss itself, it was a no-brainer. When the toss field first, that was what RCB did as well. Uh, I believe initially KKR misread the pitch. They were looking for 200. That's why they kept losing wickets, trying to attack most of the bowlers. And at one point of time, they were not even looking to cross maybe 100, 110. But thankfully, to some lusty blows from Andre Russell and a 10th wicket partnership between Varun Chakravarti and Umesh Yadav, they were able to post 128. Uh, Hasaranga bowled really well. The quality of his spin was clear, was easily visible, and a lot of batsmen were not able to read him. He bowled really well. Harshal Patel might not figure in the top two best bowler for the team in terms of wicket at least, but he bowled initial 2 overs, but 2 overs, 2 maidens, and 2 wickets. That was a spell which he was bowling initially. There was a misfield on his bowling, else he wouldn't have given only 7 runs in 4 overs. He bowled phenomenally well. In terms of when we are talking about T20 cricket and only going for 2 or 3 runs per over, that is an exceptional bowling. So overall, I felt RCB bowled really well. It's just that KKR misread the pitch. They went for a very high scoring total, and in the end, they scored relatively much lesser than what would be a par score at the DY Patil Stadium, for particular this wicket. RCB did not start it well while chasing. They lost 3 wickets. It was very good bowling from Umesh Yadav and Tim Southee. Umesh Yadav is bowling in a different level this tournament, particularly. I think he has a point to prove, and he's proving it perfectly. Sunil Narine bowled really well. He was not giving runs. He choked from one end. It's just that Varun Chakravarti and Andre Russell did not have a very good day in terms of in terms of their bowling. Towards the end, at least, KKR tried to make a match out of it, but the last 3 deliveries of the RCB innings, they completely closed it down. It's just that run out which Umesh Yadav missed of Dinesh Karthik, if that would have happened, it might have been relatively closer. But I think at the end it was fairly close chase, but RCB had always the resources to chase down 129.
Yeah, so let's start from the back. So let's just talk about RCB's batting a bit. Dinesh Karthik, I felt was kept for too late. I know that David Willey and Safin Rutherford kind of stabilized the innings a lot after those initial wickets, but I felt that bringing in Sarvaj Ahmed over Dinesh Karthik, I thought if they would have promoted Karthik, they may have gotten to the target a bit easily. How do you feel that Rutherford and Willey approached the game, especially when we saw that Varun was not having a great day? So what do you think about the batting of RCB?
See, the moment when both of them came to crease, David Willey and Rutherford, the ball was still moving quite a bit, and Andre Russell had still not bowled, his first over. It's just that it was important for them to stitch a partnership because as the partnership moved along, Sunil Ryan was also bowling well. So it was important for them, to save the wickets because only Dinesh Karthik was, who was slated to come next, was the most accomplished batsman of all the batsmen remaining. So it was important for them to switch the partnership at that time, and run rate was never an issue. Coming back to case for Karthik, I think yes, he could have come earlier and finished the game. But from RCB point of view, if I would say at that moment, when they sent Shahbaz Nadeem, the ball was still gripping, and they still, KKR still had 1 over of Narine remaining, which they utilized at the later point of time when the Karthik came. But at that moment, the impact of dew was significant. So I think that was one of the aspects which they were trying to negate by slotting it Karthik lower to Shahbaz Nadeem, and I think Shahbaz Nadeem did a perfectly job by hitting 2 sixes and the over of Andre Russell.
Yeah, I think Sehwag did play well, gave them that momentum, and at the end we also saw one into Hasaranga come in. So he has played at number 5 for Sri Lanka and done quite well. So I felt that they were batting at least two numbers too low, both Karthik and Hasaranga. But at the end of the day, they won the game, RCB, and they are perfectly right to say that it was a tactical move, and we did it pretty well. Let's talk about the bowling by KKR. I felt that it was a good start from both Tim Saudi and Umesh Yadav, and in fact, even in the first match, we thought that Tim Saudi should have played
Yeah,
ahead of Shivam Mavi because they were there. They went there with only three foreign players, and it's a bit difficult when you don't have Pat Cummins. Not to I didn't see the point of not playing Tim Saudi at that in that game, and he proved us right that he should have been there in the first place. Sunil Narayan seems like he's again back to his best. There were a few years in the middle where people were kind of reading him well. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. He's back to his best, I would say. What do you think? What do you make of Kolkata's bowling lineup
I think
and
they have
bowling
a very good.
performance?
Yeah, they have a very good bowling lineup. It's just that probably Russell and Chakravarti did not had a very good day. But overall, we saw what when Narine and Chakravarti are bowling in tandem, what they can do in CSK game. They completely choked out the opposition. Yes, we had some players who had not played from quite some time, but today was an off day for Chakravarti. Maybe he was struggling with wet delivery. That might be an issue. But the most important aspect here is Tim Southey in the team, and he bowled really well. Now, the problem which KKR will face is once Pat Cummins is back, whom do you replace? You have Sam Billins, you have Sunil Narayan, you have Andrew Russell. Uh, Assuming, if Andrew Russell is not 100%, and he's not able to give 3-4 overs, I'm not sure if they are going to do that because the way how Tim Southey is bowling right now, I would not keep him out of my 11.
So KKR almost went with only 5 bowlers, and it worked pretty well for them. I mean, defending 128 is never easy, and they did make a match out of it. But do you feel that they could have brought in Venkatesh Iyer a bit earlier, maybe given him a couple of overs? Because not just it's not just that Andre Russell was struggling.
Yeah.
It also looks like he's not completely fit, and that has been an issue with Russell. And if you want him to play the entirety of the tournament, I feel that his bowling load should be lessened a bit, and he should not be given 4 overs in the earliest, at least in the earlier stages of the tournament. I mean, you still have time, and in crunch
Yeah.
games, if he breaks down towards the end of the tournament, it would be a huge loss for Kolkata. What do you think?
See, I'll not talk about in terms of fitness right now for Andrew Russell because that is something which he has been struggling for quite some time now. That is something which team management has to, take care of that. But assuming even if Andrew Russell is 100% fit to bowl 4 overs, I have a very simple theory. If by the time when KKR were bowling 10 to 12 overs were done, they already have tried all of their 4 or 5 bowlers who were supposed to bowl for 20 overs. Now, if all the 5 bowlers were bowling very well and they were not giving any inch and they were picking up wickets, I would have been fine that Venkatesh Iyer was not even a bowl. But when you already saw, Chakravarti was not having the best of nights and Russell was not having the best of nights, I think it is important to utilize someone like Venkatesh Iyer, whom I consider is a very underrated bowler. Although he does not have a lot of seam movement or swing, but the line and length, he has a great control over them. Yes, it is easily to criticize. When he came to bowl in the 19 over, he could have kept the fine leg when he bowled the short pitch delivery, or he could have gone for the fuller delivery when Harshal Patel hit him for the boundary or over the mid wicket. But he is a very underrated bowler. He has control over the bowling. So 9 out of 10 times you might have one of the bowler who might have an off day, and Venkatesh Iyer is one of the bowler who can easily fill up that slot. So unless all the 5 bowlers are having an absolutely fantastic day, it's fine. But if 1 or 2 bowlers are not having the greatest day, it is very good for KKR to utilize someone like Venkatesh Iyer or for that matter Nitish Rana, because when the ball is getting wet, it's difficult for someone like Varun Chakravarti to grip with the kind of action which he has. But Nitish Rana bowling off spinners will have relatively better control over the ball.
Yeah, I did think that that was another option that Shreya said, and maybe he could have utilized it. But at that point, Narine was bowling pretty well, and they would have thought that eventually Chakravarti will come good and he will pick up a wicket. So
But
now
saying
let's
that,
move.
all the
Yeah,
resources which Shreyas Iyer had, given the total which he was winning, I think he did a very good job. It's just that a lot of things did not go according to what he planned. But I will give probably 7 or 8 out of 10 in terms of captaincy what Shreyas Iyer did.
yeah, I would actually give a negative mark to RCB team, the thick tank. I thought they could have ended this match pretty early if they would have sent Dinesh Karthik and Vanendu Hasaranga above others. So yeah, but saying that Kolkata did do a good job. Shreyas
Yeah.
was pretty. He tried to extract the maximum out of his resources, and he did almost well, taking the game to the last over itself. So let's move to the first innings. It looked like Kolkata came out with a score in mind, and that was not 130 or 140. It was more than
Yeah.
200.
Yeah.
And they batted like that. Initially, there were a few good overs, but other than there were a couple of overs where they tried to set themselves. And I think Rahane plays that way. But most of them looked in a hurry. And once the run rate was not as per what they thought they would, each and every batsman that came looked like they were trying to reach that 10 runs per over run rate. What do you think about Kolkata's approach at the start?
See, I'll not, criticize them in terms of how they approach, because not just the wicket. Last match, which we saw at DY Patil, both the teams scored 200s, about 200, and PBKs were able to chase the score easily. The other aspect for this particular match was one side of the boundary was relatively shorter. They were playing in the corner wicket, not the center wicket. So one side of the boundary was relatively smaller, and KKR might have, went ahead in the match with the thought that they had two spinners, and in case the impact of dew was significant, it will be difficult to defend the shorter boundary. So going ahead with that particular mindset, I do not criticize them. But once they, already lost 2-3 wickets, and initially the first 2-3 wickets, all the wickets fell to short pitch delivery. And it was not that the short selection was poor. It's just that the ball was probably bouncing a bit more than what it did in the previous matches. So that should have given them some indication. But saying that, Hasaranga bowled really well. I would say Shreyas Iyer was a bit unlucky in terms of his wicket. He was trying to take on the bowling, and he was looking particularly good until that point. He did not got the elevation. That's why he got out. But yeah.
Yeah, I just want to come here and say that we have seen Iyer get out a lot like that. He
Yeah.
is extremely confident against spin, and he has every reason to be.
Absolutely.
He's perhaps India's one of the top three batsmen against spin. I would rate him as good as Rohit and Mayank. So he would be in the top three for me against spin, and it has been his downfall for quite some time now. Saying that, let's talk about the dew factor a bit. It's a catch-22 kind of situation where that the other team has scored 200 in this wicket itself, not in this wicket, but in the stadium in their previous game. There will be dew in the second half. How significant does toss become in such a situation, and is there any way that we can mitigate such circumstances in the future?
I'll just give you a few examples just from the back of my mind. The 2020 World Cup, which was scheduled in UAE, I think 90% or more than 90% of the matches were decided based on the dew and the toss. I don't have the statistics right now, but I'm sure more than 80% of the matches, team won the toss, fielded first, and they won the game. We cannot think that Pakistan was able to beat India by 10 wickets. That is completely ridiculous. Given the both the team. I'm not taking anything away from Pakistan. They played well that game. But when you go back to say 2016, India versus West Indies T20 World Cup semi-final in Wankhede, India batted first. They posted a very good total, but the second inning it was completely impacted by the dew. I cannot fathom that if India are chasing that in that particular game, they would not have won. So the point where I'm coming is we cannot negate the fact of the commercials in the prime time of when the matches are airing. 7:30 and 8 is probably the most profitable time for the broadcasters, and especially when we are playing in the venues like Mumbai, where the humidity is relatively much higher as comparison to grounds or stadiums in Pune or Indore, those locations. But there has to be something which needs to be done so that the team who are chasing versus the team who are setting the target there should not be an added advantage just by winning the toss. If the prime time or the 7:30 match are so much important, maybe we can push the match by an hour or so that both the teams who are batting can get the same advantage of the dew. So in that way, at least, toss will not be a significant factor here. Let's just take an example of this year's tournament. 5 out of 5 matches which are played in Mumbai, team have won the toss, elected to field, and they have won the match. I'm not sure whether that's just a function or correlation in terms of how teams have performed, but I'm sure some aspect has been related to dew. The match which we saw yesterday, yes, it was at the end a one-sided match, but since the dew was not there, there was an added pressure of the scoreboard, which we saw 200 was easily chased by PBKs a few days ago. So yes, there is a function of the team performance there, but dew has a very significant role here. I'm sure we cannot convert the 7:30 matches to 3:30 matches, but either modifying the nature of wicket a bit so that the second innings and the first innings can be neutralized in terms of the batting performances, or shifting probably the matches an hour later so that both the innings can get the same advantage of the conditions which are available. These are few of the things which I can think of the mind, which are practical from current standpoint of view. But yeah, I would be happy to hear what are your thoughts.
No, there is significant dew here, and it's quite evident from the first week of the tournament. I was thinking whether it's just the quirk of this year's tournament that you have all the matches in and around Mumbai because of COVID and other restrictions, and maybe from next year onwards, when the matches get spread into the home locations for the teams, we may have a much closer encounter in terms of the fact that toss may not be as significant as it is in Mumbai. I think that's something that I think will happen naturally. But other than that, I don't think a lot could be done, because I do feel that if the pitches are made to play slower in the second innings and the ball slips out of the spinner's hand, then the batting team, they would just wait on the ball and then try to hit it out of the park. It will be easier for them also, as long as they understand that the pitch has gotten slower. So tampering with the pitch, I am not tampering, but kind of making it more even by changing some aspect of it. I'm not sure how that will work out, but that's perhaps the only solution right now.
Yeah, my only point is when you consider all the matches which we have played under the light, whether it may be the IPL this season, whether it may be the IPL which we played in UAE, or whether it may be the T20 World Cup which we played in UAE. If we shifted all those matches to day matches, do you think we would have had the same results? I don't think so.
No,
if those things can be neutralized in any way possible, I would be up for that. It's just that the toss is impacting the result, which should not happen.
No, I completely get your point, and I think apart from making some changes into the pitch, I don't think that other things will change. They could shift it by half an hour, maybe from 7:30 to 8, because I think there have been years when the second match had started at 8 o'clock, or the evening matches have started at 8 o'clock. Would that have a significant impact? Not sure, but maybe it will be.
No, I'll tell you why that happened. Yeah. So initially, matches were they were starting at 8 o'clock. When we moved from Sony to Star, it's just that most of the people who are watching the game, they are switching off their television after 10:30 and 11. That's why, again, that's a commercial angle which we are bringing here.
Yes.
That's why I said it is difficult to make these changes which we are talking about, but something has to be done so that the toss does not impact the result.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Also, sometimes the IPL games have a tendency to stretch for more than 4 hours.
Absolutely.
Also. So that has also happened. So it won't be like if you shift it from 7:30 to 8, the matches may end up in midnight.
Yes.
So that's. So let's come to RCB's bowling. That's something that was impressive. This was the same team and the same bowling lineup that was not able to defend 206, and this is the same bowling lineup that has now restricted the opposition to 128. And this was not all Kolkata's fault. The bowling was pretty good.
Yeah.
What do you make of Siraj and Akashdeep's opening combo? And it was David Willey who opened the bowling for us. So, but what do you make of the Indian pacers? Akashdeep took a few wickets. Siraj was good today. What do you make of them, both of them?
I think one thing which I'm very happy to see, Siraj is learning very fast. He's a very quick learner. He's able to read out the batsman what they are trying to do, and accordingly he's trying to change his approach, and that is clearly visible in the result. Akashdeep has raw pace, uh, although he's not as quick as someone like Umran Malik, but he has a very good pace. I still say he will need some time to acclimatize to what is happening around him, to get a hang of the stage, learn from other bowlers and other support staff which are out there, get insights and pick the brains of someone like Virat Kohli, Fab du Plessis, because it's important to understand the view of the batsman as well, how they are trying to approach a particular inning at what particular stage. So yes, he will grow and learn more, but at least for the initial matches, it will be important for RCB to use Akashdeep, in a scenario where he does not leak a lot of runs. Today also, let's take an example. KKR only scored 128, but he ended up giving more than 45 runs. So that is something which RCB will have to vary of to avoid bowling him either initial part of the innings when you are not getting that much swing, or towards a death overs, unless he is more comfortable in terms of more getting more control and he's more confident. Then probably I think we'll be able to see best of him.
Yeah, I've seen David Willey bowl in the death as well for England, and a surprise that option was not utilized by RCB. Let's come to their two most impressive bowlers, Hasaranga and Harshal Patel. Harshal Patel, we did speak about it during the auction and during the RCB preview as well, that it was not a fluke. It was not just a one-season wonder kind of thing with Harshal Patel. He has been playing in the domestic cricket for quite a long time. He has improved a lot as a bowler. It's not something that he has done overnight. It is paying off. His first 2 overs were absolutely brilliant. It was an unfortunate 4 in the 3rd over that cost him. Otherwise, his figures would have been incredible. And Wanindu Hasaranga, I think that was a surprise for me, because while I rate him as an all-rounder and he's a pretty good one at that, I didn't think that he could come here and take 4 wickets and 3 wickets in IPL. He's a leg spinner, and leg spinners generally tend to take wicket, but his record also show that he's someone who gives a lot of runs. But today it was exceptional bowling from him. What do you say about that?
Yeah, both of them bowl really well. They changed the way in terms of how they approached the last game versus this game. Harshal Patel was bowling very wide of the crease last innings when he was bowling against someone like Shah Rukh Khan. But today he stuck to his strong points. He was bowling the slow deliveries just around off stump. He was bowling the short pitch deliveries. He was bowling the full pitch deliveries as well. So I think he had better control over in terms of what he was trying to bowl today. And same goes to Hasaranga as well. I think Dew played a factor last game as well, where it was getting difficult for him to grip the deliveries. But since they were bowling first, I think he bowled really well. And even in terms of the execution of the wrong one when he was bowling the wiggly, I think he has a immaculate control in terms of where he's trying to pitch the deliveries. I was just a bit disappointed in terms of the fielding effort from their side. Maybe it was towards the fag end of the innings, so it was getting difficult. But that is something which probably Hasaranga can work going ahead.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next matches of these teams. RCB are playing against Rajasthan Royals, who looked like the team of the tournament yesterday. They have an extremely strong bowling attack and a top 4 consisting of 3 Indian batsmen and 1 English batsman, who look like the best 4 right at this moment. It's too early. It was just 1 game, but all 4 looked in touch. The bowlers were pretty good. So what are you expecting from RCB in the next game, and what do you think would be the result?
It's difficult to predict the match, but considering both the teams are, at least I would say, evenly matched when you are considering the entire squad. Saying that, it will be an important aspect for someone like Fab du Plessis and Virat Kohli to if they are able to sustain while someone like Chahal or Ashwin are coming into the crease to bowl. Saying that, they will be facing Trent Boult and Prasidh Krishna. Of all the 6 matches which we have seen till now, I think they are the best opening bowling pair in terms of the results which I saw. Maybe a function of the conditions which was being offered to them, but they looked class apart as comparison to all the other pieces. So it will be very interesting to see how RCB approaches their batting against a very quality bowling lineup. Same goes to the Rajasthan batting, because you have someone like Hasaranga. He has already picked up 4 wickets. He has someone like Harshal Patel who mixes the deliveries. So it will be difficult for someone like Sanju Samson or Josh Butler or Padigal to come and hit through the line. So it will be a very interesting match to see. But my money would be on Rajasthan Royals.
Okay, I will be pretty interested to see the Sanju Samson versus Wanindu Hasaranga battle. Samson is an incredible batsman against spin bowling. He's a hitter. I don't think there are many better hitters of spin bowling than him. He may not read everything, but when he hits, it stays a hit. It's a cliche, but it's true for Sanju Samson. So yeah, let's see that. Let's see what happens. It's difficult to predict anything with RCB. The only thing you know is that the match is going to be interesting. How, we have no idea about that. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, I think Rajasthan would go in as favorite into that game. Let's talk about KKR's next game. They've now won one, lost one. They will be playing Punjab Kings. Again, another impressive team. They started pretty well. Under Mayank, they do look like a team that is gelling well, which is much more calmer on the field. Everyone looks like they know what they are doing, and you have the likes of Shikhar Dhawan, who kind of, I guess, are some of the best people to have around in the dressing room. Shikhar is one of the best guy to chill around, and I think he improves the team environment a lot as well. What are your thoughts about KKR versus Punjab Kings?
I think it will be an interesting duel. I'm not sure whether Pat Cummins will be available for KKR for selection for that particular match, but it will be interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that he will be available because it's only a couple of days later. It's on 1st of April, so okay. I think it may be difficult for Pat Cummins. He will not be here.
Okay, but saying that Punjab has a very strong power-hitting batting lineup. So it will be interesting to see how they are able to approach, someone like Sunil Narine or Varun Chakravarti. And at the same time, if you have someone like, Tim Southee and Umesh Yadav who are swinging the ball, they're not just pace. Tim Southee, all the balls like around 130, he had very good control today. So it will be interesting to see because, although they chased down 200, but RCB bowling was not particularly good on that particular occasion. So I'm expecting KKR to bowl really well. And it will be an interesting match to see how the power hitters of Punjab are able to work on that.
Yeah, it will be an interesting game. Pretty interesting. Punjab's batsmen versus Narine and Chakravarti in the middle. Yeah. Let's see what kind of analytics works there. What kind of strategies, tactics that Anil Kumble comes up with for his batsmen. Yeah, it was good talking to you. We had an interesting match, if not a close one, because it looked like RCB will win it after the first innings, and they did win it. But they made it pretty interesting for us to be to wake up till 12 o'clock to see the finish of that game. So yeah, thank you, Anshul. Great talking to you. Thank you everyone for listening, and please like, share, subscribe our content, and write back to us on how we can improve this. And we'll be meeting you for the next game. Thank you.
Thanks.